Hey guys, Lisa Callaghy here to share with you a video on how to use the dashboard report in Reading Express to help find the students that need extra support in mastery of skills. Okay, let's get started. So here I am on a teacher's dashboard and I'm on a third grade teacher account because most of the students who will be in Reading Express are students that can read. And for the most part, we have students that can read the most in third grade. Okay, so I'm going to come down on the left-hand side menu bar. And under Reading Express, I'm going to go to Reports. And then I'm going to click on Dashboard. All right, so once I'm here, let me just go over the top part here. You have the teacher, you have the availability of changing a range of dates so that your report will reflect the date range that you select. That's kind of important, and I'll go into that in a little bit. Then the type of dashboard we're looking at. It could be in a chart form, which is what we're looking at now, or table form. You can export this as a print in print form, or you can export it as a CSV when you switch over to table form. And finally, you have the ability to look at each one of your students individually in either chart form or table form. Okay, so personally, I prefer to look at this report and the data that this report is giving me in table form. This is chart form. I prefer table form because I feel like it's easier for me to sort and be able to see the students that are in most need of help from you or other resources. Okay, so let's switch it over to table form. And now let me just explain what we're looking at. So this table is representative of what is being assessed or what students are working through within Reading Express, which is different than Reading Eggs. So the dashboard in Reading Eggs is different from Express because students are expected to be reading when they are using Reading Express. All right, so again, the top is the same. This time, like I said, you can do a CSV, which is a spreadsheet. You can change the date range, which will then change the data down here in your table. All right, so let me just go through what we have here. We have the students, last name, first name, classes, teacher, and grade. That's all under the students area here, and you're able to sort by any of these columns. Obviously, any names will be sorted A to Z or Z to A. And grade level, this is all grade 3. Now here we go. We have comprehension lessons, and comprehension lessons are the actual lessons that the students are working on within Reading Express on their maps. So when students take the placement test, depending upon how well they do on the placement test, Reading Express will place them on a specific lesson within a map. So this student's initial lesson was lesson 1. So they placed on the first lesson in Reading Express, okay? And then it shows the highest lesson completed is lesson 44. The total completed is 12. So if you wanted to see the student's placement or initial lesson after taking the second placement test, you need to change these dates to reflect the time period when the second placement test was administered to your students, and that was sometime in January. So that will give you the initial lesson that the student landed on after taking the second placement test. This is the initial lesson that the student landed on the first placement test, okay? Because it's including the first one, it's going to tell you the initial. So that's what you're seeing here. Then you're seeing the highest and total. Okay, we did that. So next you're seeing lesson quizzes. So after each lesson, there are quizzes, and you'll see your students, the number of attempts, and their average quiz score. Okay. Next, you're going to see Lexile levels. You'll see the initial Lexile level that their score after the first placement test. Because again, of these date ranges, you'll see the highest Lexile level that a student has, and then their growth. And over here, you'll see assessments completed. Again, assessments that are related to fiction and nonfiction books. So you'll see the total completed lesson and their Lexile level for the type of book that they're reading. So it looks like this child has read mostly nonfiction books so far. This child has read both fiction and nonfiction, and the total completed, the total assessments completed. Okay. Then you're going to come over to where it says books read. So books read are related to books outside of the lessons. So if a teacher has assigned a book or a student went into the library to read a book on their own, this is going to show the total amount of books that each student has read. Next, you'll see spelling lessons completed if the teachers ask the students to go into spelling. And then you'll see the stadium scores. You'll see the usage, which means the usage is the number of completed lessons, number of assessments completed, number of completed spelling lessons, stadium games, and books read. And then lastly, you'll see time in program. It's by hours. So then you'll see how many hours each student has spent within the program. Again, this is all related back to your date range. So if you change the date range, it's only going to give you the amounts based upon the time frame that you put here. Okay. So let's talk about how we can find the students within this report that need some support. You're going to do that in two areas here. First is going to be the comprehension lessons, so the lessons that the students are on, and then you're going to look for Lexile level to see which students are below Lexile level for their grade level, and then you can assign them books for them to practice reading. You can have them read aloud where it's recorded and you are able to hear their reading, or you can do these things together. So in another video, I will show you the resources and how to get to them and what they look like so you're able to support your students. But first, I just want to show you how to find the students that you need to support. All right, so let's go back to comprehension lessons and let's sort by highest lesson completed. And we want to sort in this column by the lowest. So let's first sort by the highest, which is 88. And now let's sort by the lowest, which if you see a dash, that means that that student has not actually placed into Reading Express yet. That student may have had attempts here, may have tried to do some quizzes, but this is not related to their comprehension lessons, okay? So they did not place within a comprehension lesson within Reading Express. So you'd have to look for this student in Reading Eggs. Next, you'll see the next level of highest lesson completed, and that's lesson 2. We're going to lesson 3. Okay, so these are comprehension lessons. And as you go down, you'll see students' higher lessons that they're working on. Now, how do we know what these numbers mean? Like if a student is working on lesson 2, does that mean that they're on grade level, or, are the students below grade level? What grade level, how many grade levels below are they? So in order for us to determine that, we need to look at the Reading Express lessons chart that will tell us where these students lie. So to find the chart, you come over to Management, you select Manage Progress, and then over here under Reading Express, under My Lessons, you'll get to see the numbers that are ranges, and those ranges relate back to a grade level here. So students that are in my lessons or working on lessons between 1 and 20 are really working on grade 1 skills for Reading Express. So most likely these students can read enough to put them into Reading Express, but they're reading on a first grade kind of level. So those students that fall within this area will need extra help because we're looking at a third grade and these students are working on a first grade level. And then 21 to 60 would be one grade level behind. Any student that scores between that range is in second grade, working on a second grade level. And then any student that's 61 to 100 is currently working on third grade. And you would think somewhere between 80, 81 would be within the middle of the year, kind of cutting this in half, 39 points or 39 lessons between these two numbers. So that's probably where you'd want to see your students that would be on, on task, on reading level. Okay, so let's take a look. So let's go back. So we're looking at 1 to 20 and 21 to 60. Okay, so let's do highest level and lowest level. So here, this is a kindergarten. All of these students are kind of working on kindergarten levels here. I'm sorry, first grade, not kindergarten, first grade. These are first grade levels, right? So these students can probably identify some words, maybe be able to sound out some words, but their comprehension of what they're reading is not. It's on a first grade level. So these students are going to need some extra help, right? Now this student here is right on the cusp. So this student is about to move on to second grade reading comprehension level. So continuing into that, and then we're going to try and look for students that are on level, and that was, I think, 60 or higher. 60 to 100 was the third grade level. So here we have one student and two students. So we have two students that are kind of reading, and actually it's a comprehension score here. So obviously they're understanding what they're reading. So we have two students that are on grade level. Okay, so now we know we have to support a lot of students here, but let's start with the students that are at the lowest comprehension lessons. So in order to see what's going on specifically with the student, what they may need help on, like what skill, we can click on their name, and now that's going to bring us into the student's specific results. And again, we're looking at it in table form. And this Reading Express, actually, if you've seen Reading Eggs individual student results page, it doesn't have this ability to jump to. This Reading Express does. So you can jump to the comprehension, you can jump to read aloud just to see what's going on with your student, or you can just scroll down. So for comprehension, we want to see initial lesson, highest lesson. We know this from the chart before, but what it's doing is it's giving you the placement test, date and results, right, for Reading Express. Now, if the student landed on lesson 1 in Reading Express, and this is a third grade student, I would encourage teachers to have this student take the Reading Eggs placement test and then see where they land there, because they might need to master some skills from Reading Eggs so that when they do get to Reading Express, they're not landing on a first grade Reading Express comprehension level. Okay? It's at the discretion of the teacher to decide, but I would suggest at least maybe taking a look and see where they place in the Reading Eggs, since they're so low in Reading Express. Okay, now you can see how the student has been doing. So they're on lesson 1, still the first lesson within Reading Express. You can see the dates, right? Now it looks like since the placement test for this student, because we took the second placement test in January, the student has kind of regressed. Now, that to me might be a red flag to give the student a to retake the placement test again, to reassign the placement test, because maybe they didn't take the test as seriously, because it looks like they were on lesson 3 and they progressed from lesson 2 to 3 back in December, which was before the second placement test. Okay, completely up to you. But now at the top here, comprehension lessons at the top, you can see there's a detailed student report just on the comprehension lessons. And again, you can utilize this date range to help you see things in, either more recently or further back, to kind of take a look and assess how the student was progressing throughout the year so far. All right, so clicking on detailed report for this student, it's giving you, actually, so it's telling you the placement test here. It's pretty much giving you the, December 12th, they were on lesson 3. So, so I think you're getting a little bit more information here if we're looking at that student. Let me go back and just check. No, it's the same thing. Sorry. So you're only looking at the same thing. I guess if there was more information for this student, you would get more information in this report. I guess just the placement test is different. So yeah, just take a look at that. Did they give scores? I'm not really sure. Going back. Yeah, they did. Okay. So now the next part is read aloud fluency, which you're not seeing because one of the new features of the program is to assign students books on their Lexile level to read aloud, and they must have headphones with a microphone in order for that to work. And then the program will give the students a fluency score, and then you as a teacher are able to listen to the students' actual reading in your area where you assign assignments. Okay, now we can look at Lexile growth, their highest completed Lexile level, and their Lexile growth. So you can look on your Lexile charts to see if, what grade level this student's Lexile level falls into. And that'll help you when you want to assign a book to your students. So at least you're assigning books that they can read instead of assigning books that are either too easy or too hard. So that will help you. And in future videos, I'm going to show you how to access and assign these resources within Reading Eggs to help your students with their skills mastery. All right, so progress by category. This is pretty cool. The category is literal, inferential, vocabulary and usage, and text analysis and critical literacy. All of this is determined obviously by comprehension and their scores on the comprehension quizzes, and obviously where they are within the lessons in Reading Express. So it's showing you their average score for each one of these categories. Okay, so that gives you some more information, pretty good information. Assessments completed. It doesn't look like the student has taken any assessments, but if they had, you'd be able to see a detailed student report there. Assignments, they haven't had assignments. Spelling progress, any trophies. And it looks like this student has been working in the stadium. And the stadium is kind of the area where there are games where students have to answer questions in spelling, grammar, vocabulary in order to play games. And it looks like that's where the student has been working. It does give you an accuracy percentage for each area. So that kind of correlates to where the student is within Reading Eggs to begin with. And then you could see some books read. So a student read 2 chapters, and their average score is 68 if you wanted to see detailed report. But let's just take a look. The student read The Bear is Back. on November 22nd, November 21st, the second chapter, September 23rd, the first chapter. It is a fiction book, and the Lexile level is here. And then the detailed report, each chapter, after each chapter, there is a quiz, and the student scored an average of 68 between the two quizzes for the two chapters read. Coming over here to the student report kind of gives you the same thing. And also, you can choose between students in your class. So if you took note of those students that were working on reading Express in the comprehension lessons that were below grade level, maybe first grade, 2 grades below grade level, you can actually toggle here to their individual score, their individual results. So you can, instead of going back to the main table. Okay, so the other thing also here, let me go back to all students. You can also sort by Lexile level. So this is the highest Lexile level that your students are reading on. You can see who that student is by scrolling over to the left, and then you can click and it will show you the lowest. The highest is 687. The lowest is 187. Okay, so now using your Lexile level chart to see what grade level these Lexile levels fall in, you would be able to assign books to students for practice to improve their Lexile level. And obviously, when they read the books, they have assessments based upon whether the book is fiction or nonfiction, and then it will give you the Lexile level that the student has when they've actually read some books. Students here read 5 books, and their Lexile level, didn't change. Okay, so this has been a video on how to decipher the Reading Express reports dashboard report, and how to utilize this report to determine what your students need or who needs some support in the areas of reading comprehension and just reading in general for Lexile growth. All right, I hope this helped. Have a great day.